Well, the thing is, in our culture, we're taught from day one that our purpose here on earth is to achieve, accomplish, and be a success. And if you really go into that programming, and I was on that programming for many years, you will go insane because you will never reach the end. You will never get to the point where you feel like you've accomplished, achieved, and are a success. It's a complete illusion. The true purpose of why we are here is to grow and learn.
Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you. Hi there, I'm Sarah Kuhn. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Ones. This week we are doing something a little bit different. I've interviewed so many amazing people this year, and I wanted to take a look at some of the best advice that I've heard about INFJs and what's the best career advice for us. How do you start your own business, especially if you want to have a blog or a podcast, or if you want to be a life coach? Before we get started with that, I want to tell you about this amazing challenge that I'm doing next week. So a lot of people ask me, how do you start a blog? I run into a lot of INFJs who want to write and to have their own blog and business, but they don't really know where to start. So I put together this free challenge that will walk you through everything you need to know about starting your own blog, everything that I did to start my own blog as well. I'm going live on Facebook every day from Monday, July 6th through Friday, July 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to discuss how to have a life rich in purpose, how to overcome imposter syndrome, how to show up and provide immense value, how to believe in yourself and take massive action right away, and most importantly, how to turn your blog into a full-time career and make real money. I'm sure that's what a lot of us want to know. I'm also going to talk about building your social media following quickly. I've built my Instagram account from absolutely nothing to over 50,000 followers in under a year. And I'm going to show you exactly what I did so that you can apply the same method and build your account as well. It's really, really easy. Trust me. If you want to sign up, please go to infjwoman.com/blog challenge to sign up. There's a link in the show notes. Also, if you go to infjwoman.com, you will find the link on the front page. Okay, so in this episode and in the next episode as well, we're going to break down the best careers for INFJs, how to find your purpose, how to get started doing your own thing and living the life that you really want to live. We'll start with a wonderful career coach that I spoke to named Tanya Brown about why the traditional 9-to-5 may not be the best thing for us as INFJs. So what do you think about INFJs being entrepreneurs and having more non-traditional careers? Because you have kind of a non-traditional career as a life coach.
Yeah, it's very non-traditional and it's very entrepreneurial, which, I mean, there was a part of me, even when I was young, that was like, oh, I want to have like my own thing. Like I've always been fiercely independent that way. So it was less of a oh, I have this dream to own my own business, and more of, I don't want anyone to tell me what to do.
See, I was completely opposite. I was like, I just want to go to work and put in my time. But then once I did that for about 10 years, I was like, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do anymore.
Yeah, it feels like that whole like routine of like 9 to 5 just feels very stifling for me. And so and I mean, I've had some jobs that I enjoy more than others. I worked for like a travel and tourism operator for a few years, and I really enjoyed that job. I enjoyed the context of the job, but the whole like 9 to 5 office thing it still felt somewhat stifling. But I think with the way that technology is evolving so quickly, there's so much room for like non-traditional careers in today's day and age. And so that can really look like anything. Like, I mean, we have the whole like micro influencer / mega influencer careers, right? Where people are literally just like creating content nonstop and partnering with brands and companies and things of that nature. And so I think it's easy to develop your own non-traditional kind of career. I think for INFJs, the part of the hang up can be, and I know this was part of my hang up personally, so this might not necessarily apply to everyone, but having so many interests and ideas and figuring out, okay, how do I create something concrete out of this? And so it's important to realize that like not every interest or idea has to be separate, like they can build upon each other. And in today's day and age, because technology is advancing so much, I honestly think everyone should have some type of entrepreneurial, I don't want to say side hustle, because I don't like the ideology of like hustling, because I feel like there's not enough rest in that type of culture.
Right.
But just everyone should have some kind of entrepreneurial side gig that they're working on, right? Because the economy it's okay, it's not the greatest, it's not the worst. It's definitely trending downward. Student loan debt, right? Like we talked about that earlier. Like there's just so much going on in the world today. Like wages are not getting higher, right? And so it's important for us as people to have multiple streams of income in order to be able to live the life that we want and live the life that we need to live, especially for INFJs, because we need that alone time. We need to have the luxury of being able to step away as needed in order to cultivate that inner creativity and that inner intuition. And so while that might look different for different people, right? Like not every INFJ is going to become, an influencer on Instagram or social media, but some kind of entrepreneurial venture, whether it's blogging or travel writing or photography, something that's creative, I think is a good way for INFJs to hone in on that introverted kind of work environment that we crave a lot, in order to balance us out.
Health coach Laura Sherrill of Balanced Bombshells told us about how being an entrepreneur changed her health. Yes, her health.
I mean, I honestly can't believe how much our cycle dictates everything. Like it really controls our thoughts, our mood, our emotions. And if our hormones are off, then we're going to be feeling more tired. We're going to be feeling more insecure about ourselves. We're not going to be feeling as sociable. So it's just, to me, it was even taking your personality type and kind of like taking things to a next level, because I always plummeted right before and during my period, especially during really busy times at work. So I did a lot of event planning. So as an introverted person, you can understand that event planning was tough during crunch time. So like on one side, I really liked it because at the event, I didn't have to sit and do small talk with people, which I know INFJs can't stand. We want to get down to like the root of it. We don't want to do small talk. I just want to talk to you about your like hopes and dreams in life. Sure. So I got to be able to host, which means that you get to talk to people for like 2 minutes and be like, oh, once you're done with the conversation, you could be like, oh, I have to go check on something. And then you can just leave. So like that was super helpful. But being around people for such an extended period of time, I never had that time to like step away. So like hormonally, it made my mood suffer. It made my energy suffer. I would give everything I could to my job, but when I came home, I wasn't seeing friends. Like I would go months without planning something with friends because I just couldn't handle being around people anymore. So then starting my own business and working for myself, my health actually improved so much because I didn't have to be around people if I didn't want to be. So it really helped like create some separation where you can hang out with people and see them when you want, and then do your own thing and kind of dive into your own creative work as well. Which health-wise for me was really helpful.
A lot of times we realize that we want to do something different, but we don't know what we want to do. So we start planning. Kristen Mangus and I spoke about how we end up paralyzing ourselves with too much planning. I loved what you said earlier too about paralyzing ourselves with learning, because I mean, I did that for so long because I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And I was like, I like college, so I'm going to stay in college. And then I graduate with $70,000 worth of college loans, and I don't know what to do. I still don't know what to do. And it's like, okay, what am I going to do? And then I thought about starting my own business, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to hire a business coach. And they're like, it's $5,000 for 6 months. And I'm like, I don't have $5,000, but I'm going to find it because this is going to help me. This is what I need. This is the answer. Yeah. and then it's like, okay, well, I think maybe I might want to be a life coach. Maybe, well, you can go to school to do that. So you can spend 10 more years in school, or 2 more years, I think it is. And I'm like, yeah, but that's going to be another $30,000 or $40,000. And I don't know if I want to do that. But I mean, we just constantly, and I've talked to so many people who do the same thing, that it's like, I want to do this new thing, but I don't want to do it right now because it's really scary and I'm not really good at it. So I'm going to figure out how to be really good at it, and then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you're never going to be really good at it if you don't actually do it.
Right. And you're never going to be really good at it. Or, well, I don't say never, but the chances that you're going to be really good at it right off the bat are very slim. So let's just like give ourselves some grace, right? From the beginning. Let's like, we go into so many things thinking like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then it's hard, or we don't do as well as we think. And it's like, well, of course you're not. Like, so copywriting for me, right? I said earlier, I overanalyze everything, including, I edit myself over and over and over, right? And so I bought a class. First I bought a book on copywriting, and then I bought a course on copywriting. And then I was like, you know what? I should just pay somebody to do
it for me.
Write some copy for me. And I did pay a friend, right? But I'm still in this space where then I was like, but I can't pay somebody to write everything for me. I'm just not at that place. Again, I'm doing all this different stuff. And I'm trying to do it scrappy. So what I really need to do is just become more comfortable writing stuff that's not perfect and putting it out there. That's really what I need. Yeah. And I spent a year doing all this other stuff when really I just need to put it out there and know that it doesn't matter as much to anybody else as it matters to me, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't get 1,000 leads right off the bat, okay. You could change it.
We need to learn to be okay with being messy. I love that. And it's so completely true. The problem that we run into the most is perfectionism, which is really about control. I love this next clip from Lauren Sapala. She explains how perfectionism is all about anxiety and our need to please people and have control. Do you think that every single INFJ is meant to be a writer?
Well, I think it's important to realize there are a lot of different kinds of writers, and there's a lot of different kinds of writing. And we forget that a lot of the time. Going into, say, like journalism is totally different than writing horror novels like Stephen King, which is totally different than writing self-published self-help books like I do, which is totally different than writing, a newspaper column. Like it could go on and on and on. But some areas of writing, like journalism, it's very rational. It's very competitive. There's going to be a lot of critique. There's going to be a lot of collaboration. You're going to get constant feedback. Same thing if you're like, I want to write screenplays in Hollywood. That's a whole different reality. You know, that reality is, it's very competitive. A lot of people are going to be giving you critique. You might not be interested in that kind of reality as a writer. You might be more interested in, I want to write my fantasy novel and then I want to put it on Amazon and I don't really care if anyone likes it. I don't care if it's a bestseller. It's for me. It brings me joy. I want to build this world and then offer it out. And if people like it, they like it. If one person reads it and it touches them, great. So it's all about what is meaningful to you and what you're really going for, what's important to you. If you're like, it's really important to me to win the Pulitzer Prize, it just is. Like that, I'm convinced that's going to make me happy. I won't rest. Then go for it. Like go into journalism. You know, if you're like, I really don't care about awards. I really don't care if I'm a bestseller. Write for you. If you publish it, cool. If you don't publish it, no big deal. It might just be that journaling is your thing. I know a lot of INFJs who are like, I don't ever want to write anything with structure or story. I just love to journal every day. You know, that's my outlet. I do encourage INFJs to try writing in different forms and see what pulls you. Don't force yourself to do it. I also know INFJs who really get perfectionistic about journaling. Like they'll get a hold of the artist's way and they're like, I have to do it every morning. I have to wake up at 4 a.m. It's boot camp, you know. And I'm like, it's not. It's a journaling, you know. But just try different things and see what pulls you and see what nourishes you. That's what writing is about. I think so much of the time we use it to beat ourselves up.
Yeah. Yes. It's difficult to not get stuck in the perfectionism. Because even just for me with my journal, I wanted to have one of those bullet journals that you see, you know, that are super fancy and look totally awesome. And I tried really hard and it just didn't work. And I even bought like all the expensive supplies and everything. And what I end up writing in is one of these that I sort of fancied up, but it's like one of those things that you get for school that's like $1 at Walmart. And the only reason that I'm okay with writing it is because it was $1. It's like, you know, it's not fancy or expensive. So if I mess it up, it's like, I messed it up. It's not that big of a deal. So how do you get past the whole perfectionism thing, especially in your writing? Because that's like a really big thing. Especially it was for me when I'm like, okay, I'm not a writer. I can't spell. I don't know anything about sentence structure. It's difficult.
It is. I mean, what I work on with my clients, perfectionism, it's ultimately about control. And INFJs are very controlling people. And we don't often think of ourselves as controlling because we are also people pleasers. So it's this weird mix of like, we're always trying to keep the peace. We're always trying to keep the harmony. I don't care what restaurant we go to for lunch, wherever you want to go. You know, we're very fluid like that. But at the same time, we almost always have high anxiety because we're always dealing with big energetic onslaughts from the environment and other people. We normally don't have a whole lot of people we can confide in. We tend to feel very isolated and like weirdos. So we kind of have a lone wolf thing going on a lot of the time. A lot of us are unfulfilled creatives. So we have this like toxic brew cocktail of anxiety going on, and that breeds control. And on top of that, we forecast the future. That is our happy place. When we think about how is everything going to play out? Let me look at the patterns I see, follow them to the end. How does the future unfold? We love that. So we're always trying to anticipate the future and nail it down. Well, if I just do it in this way and I just follow this program, and that sort of self-soothes that anxiety. But with writing, you know, that's fine. If you are like, okay, I'm going to journal every single day for a year and I'm going to do it at 5 a.m. every morning. You could actually probably do that. You might be tired, but you could do that. If you're trying to write a novel or you're trying to write your memoir, you're trying to write a big, deep work that means a lot to you, that you have a lot of heart investment in, that your soul is going to surface as this work is being done, you're going to go into territory where you don't have very much control. And that's where INFJs freak out. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then they try to clamp down even harder on the control mechanisms. well, I'll just get even more rigid about my writing schedule. I'll just get even more stifling about how many words I need to write every day. I'll just plan the book out to every detail. And then we get frozen, and then we're completely crippled and we can't move forward at all. So to break through that, we've got to let go of our control, and it doesn't always have to be in writing. It can be in all areas of your life, eating something new, going somewhere new, booking a vacation somewhere you've never been before, starting a relationship with someone that you're maybe a little unsure about, initiating something. Those types of new experiences where we are out of control and we cannot entirely predict the outcome, it's sort of like we engage our extroverted sensing. And that helps, our extroverted sensing, we're at like the level of a 3 or 4-year-old with that. So even finger painting can help. Getting messy, getting unplanned, unpredictable, that can really help perfectionism loosen the hooks that it has into us.
So you want to start your own business and do your own thing. You want more freedom from work, but you have no idea where to start. The best thing to do is start with your purpose. Evan Carmichael breaks down how to find your purpose in one simple step. So many people ask me, how do you find your purpose?
So your purpose comes from your pain, right? This is why I wrote Built to Serve, right? I mean, because I got asked that question so many times, and it's not that difficult. It doesn't require years of meditation or journaling or anything else. You just have to think about what is the most painful moment for you as a human, and not like I broke my arm or something, not physical pain, but emotional pain. When you felt the lowest of the low, you felt worthless, you felt like you have you're no point in life. And you've grown from that. You've come out of that. You're not where you want to be yet, because we're constantly growing, but you're way better than you used to be. Whether that was 6 months ago, or a year ago, 5 years ago. There's lots of people who currently are who you used to be. And your purpose is to go help them. And you represent hope to them. And people will default to thinking, well, I'm no Tony Robbins, or I'm no Brendan Burchard, or whoever. Soon they're going to say, I'm no Sarah Kuhn, but you can help, right? Like you can help the person who you used to be. If you think back to that person who you used to be 5 years ago, you can help that person in a way that Evan Carmichael or Tony Robbins or whoever can't. And so it's just understanding that there's lots of people who currently are like that. Serving others is hardwired into us. It makes you feel good. We all know it. They've done functional MRIs on people's brains and found that serving others hits the same part of the brain as having food and having sex, which are also important as humans. And so it's like it's hardwired into you to serve and to help. But there's a difference between just serving, like buying the coffee of the person behind you in line, or holding the door for somebody. These little moments, these acts of service, good deeds, versus a deep fulfillment of helping other people go through the thing that you went through. So I love helping entrepreneurs because I struggled so much as an entrepreneur. I quit on my first business partner for a day. I came back the next day, but that was like the lowest moment in my life. And so I want to make it easier for other entrepreneurs not to struggle and suffer as much as I did. I want to make it easier for introverts to step up. Like, how does an introvert get on stage and talk to 2,000 people and have a YouTube channel with 300 million views and all that? Well, I don't know. Like, I'm figuring it out. I mean, I've done it and I want to get even bigger. And just sharing that can be an inspiration, hopefully, to other introverts as well. So the pain that you went through can either define you from a negative and you stay lost and trapped, or can define you in a positive and say, hey, this is my chance to serve and give back and help everybody else who's currently suffering with this same thing.
I love Evan's approach to finding your purpose. It's completely changed my life and my business. But it's also deep and scary work to look at your pain. Emotional pain is something that we like to avoid like the plague. We don't want to look at it or face it. We just want to get away from it as soon as possible. If you're still looking at finding your purpose, I really encourage you to look at your emotional pain. I also wanted to let you know that I have a free guide with an exercise in it that will help you out a lot. You can find it at infjwoman.com, and there's a link for it in the show notes as well. In this next clip, I spoke to Casey Ellis, who is an INFJ business coach. We spoke about being afraid to put ourselves out there and getting past that fear. Anytime you're talking about starting a business, even if you don't know what it is or if you do know what it is, in this day and age, it requires you to put yourself out there, to be on social media. And as somebody who's worked in marketing for more than 10 years, I can tell you, the first thing that I tell people is you need to humanize your brand, which means you need to put your face on it.
Yes.
And don't go looking at my social media and judge me because my face is not on it. I don't take my own advice. Because one of the biggest problems that I have as an INFJ that I've talked to a lot of other people about is we're afraid to be seen. We don't want to put our face out there. Mm-hmm. How do you get past that fear?
Typically what this is a fear of failure. That's typically what it is. It's that it rears its head in our life like that. So I'm going to challenge you here to respond to that question by asking yourself, so what if you're scared? Right? Now, I'm not saying that to not validate that fear, because I know that that's what you feel. I still feel it, even doing the work that I've done. But when you need to do something, that's really what the goal is. I need to get this thing done. So what does it really matter how you feel about getting it done? And INFJs, we live in our feelings, right? It took me, I'm still trying to not let my feelings be me, right? It's just what I'm feeling. So you may feel afraid, but you're not afraid. Like, it's not who you are. It's just how you feel at that moment. So it honestly, and I'm trying to say this in the best way, it doesn't really matter if you're happy or scared or afraid or anxious or whatever. Like, what matters is that you're doing what you're meant to do. Great things are done often when people are freaked out or when they're angry, when they're sad or they're full of rage. Not everything has to be comfortable. And I could easily say not everything should be comfortable, really. But it definitely not in terms of starting does it have to be comfortable. So I'm sure you've heard the phrase, if you follow like a lot of healing or mental health awareness, you heard that phrase, healing is messy, right? And it is. Like, sometimes you have to pull yourself out of situations that are dangerous or toxic or sad or harmful. And even though it's those bad things, you're like kicking and screaming, like you don't want to get out of it, but you have to.
Right.
So not everything has to be comfortable. Nothing has to be pretty. And you don't even have to really be ready to do great things. It's a feeling. It's not you. And it's not more important than doing really what you need to do and what's important to you in the first place. So I like to give this example. When I was in my youth, I was a competitive athlete, and I was always thrown in front of these big crowds, and I had to perform and I had to be judged, of course. So I was always freaked out, like anxious, on the verge of crying. Sometimes I did. But it really helped me to do better in front of people and speaking and being on video and just being around people anyway. So if I hadn't have done that, or if my parents let me choose to just hide all the time like I wanted to, I would probably have some severe social anxiety rather than just kind of the minor stuff I deal with. Or
that's my problem. My parents let me just hide all the time.
Yes. And I get it. And it has to be painful for parents to watch their kids be so scared and be so anxious. Like, I get it. And I am glad that my parents made me do that. But you know that I speak on like intention and purpose, by now you do. So I would challenge you to set your intention really straight. What do you intend to do for these people that you need to talk to, that you need to get in front of? What is your purpose with them? How would that help them? What it is that you're going to do? Why do they even need the help? Get to the root of why you're doing what you're doing. And that's going to help you focus more on serving them than on being judged or scared or anxious. And also, we relate to people that are real and not people that are perfect. So you are real. So show up as you are and who you are. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be calm or even ready to really do what it is you need to do. And like Sarah said, she said it in a great way, humanize. I actually wrote down the word because I'm going to steal it. You have to humanize what it is you're doing. People want to see the person. They don't care if anything else is perfect or great. They want to see you and they want to feel you. That's really what it is. So I challenge you to kind of look past that you don't want to be seen, and just focus on why you're really doing what you're doing.
Not everything is going to be comfortable, but it is doable. You're not alone in your fears, trust me, but you can get past them. Business coach Olivia Powell walks us through getting past our fear of judgment and criticism. When you're thinking about starting your own business, or even if you're just thinking about starting a blog or an inspirational Instagram, or maybe you're thinking about a podcast, any kind of way where you're kind of coming out of your shell and you have to put yourself out there. That was one of the hardest things for me to get past when I started my blog. But then once I got comfortable with writing, I was like, okay, I can do this. But then it was like, now I have to do videos. And I'm like, ugh. And we were just talking about that earlier. I'm talking about how I need to do more Instagram live videos. And it's difficult for me because I don't like to be on video, but also it's difficult to put myself out there and to be seen. How do you get past all of that? How do you work through that?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think this is like the major one, probably the biggest one that holds people back, I think, that and perfectionism. So we'll get to that in a sec, because I know INFJs, that's one of their strengths and weaknesses, is what I like to say, not just a weakness. So there's a few things. So the way I think of it is like, okay, let me share a little story. When I first came out as a life coach, or as a relationship coach, technically, because it was my niche, it was a big deal for me, because I was like scared of what everyone would think of me. I was scared of judgment. I was scared of people learning about my story, because I'd gone through like this abusive relationship, nothing physical or sexual, but definitely emotionally abusive, you know, mentally and spiritually and all this sort of stuff, right? I was mistreated and didn't really know at the time. I talk about it on my podcast, you know, for another day. It's a long story. But for me, actually feeling like I had the confidence to step out of my little shell and dip my toes in the water, the day that I did that was a big day for me. And I was really proud that I did do it. However, and I should say 99% of the people that saw what I was doing was very supportive and commended me in my bravery to do it and blah, blah, blah. And so that felt really great. However, before that was all fully received, I got this scathing message from a psychologist over Instagram. And at the time, I didn't really understand about triggering. Like, I didn't understand that if that person's triggered by something, it's actually there's something going on within them. It's not actually got anything to do with you, right? Yeah. Didn't never understand that. So I took this really personally. And I definitely have always considered and been told by the people that I'm sensitive, which I used to think was a bad thing, but I don't anymore. Because I've worked through that. So this psychologist sent me these written messages, and I've kept them, and I will share them one day. In fact, I probably should share them this year in my group, because it's actually a really good example of not letting things or someone's opinion hold you back, right? So I'd spent 6 months building up to the point like, yep, I'm going to be a relationship coach. Yes, I'm going to be niching in narcissism and helping codependent women that have been abused. Yes, I'm going to put myself out there, share my story, and come what may, sort of thing. I knew that they'd be good and bad, because I'd seen other people ahead of me be attacked by trolls, attacked by, you know, people that were triggered by them, even friends and family that didn't really agree with what they were doing. So I knew that was eventually going to come my way at some stage, but I did not expect it so early on, because I literally received that message within, I think it was like 48 to 72 hours. Wow. And it went on and it went on and it went on. And she attacked me personally, basically saying that I had no ethics, saying that I was a horrible person for becoming a coach when it's got no grounds, how people with, you know, this sort of situation should only ever go to a therapist, how I was uneducated, how I was dumb, how I was tricking people for money, like the lowest of the lowest below the belt comments. And I remember I got that message that night. I was in my room, actually, where I am now, and I was absolutely like blown away. And for a moment there, I was like, well, shit, I've done the wrong thing. Like, who am I to be doing this? You know, that whole imposter syndrome comes up. Right. And I'm like, maybe she's right. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is a sign from the universe. Like, all these things went through my mind. And I reached out to one of my coaching trainers who I was Facebook friends with. And I said to her, I was like, this is a message I've received. I don't know if I'm meant to be doing this anymore, because I don't think I can kind of handle this sort of criticism. And she coached me through it, which was really lovely of her. She was like, you do realize that this has actually got nothing to do with you. This is that person's own perception of what a coach is and what they do. And she's obviously had a negative experience. Yeah, so I was extremely offended. I was literally at that T intersection of like, what do I choose to do from here? Do I shut myself down, crawl back into my shell and live a very small life because of fear of other people not totally agreeing? And plus I was a big people pleaser too. So having one person out of like, so having like 99% of people being positive and supporting me, I was overlooking that because of the 1% horrible message that I got from someone I didn't even know, who didn't even know who I was or what my ethics and values were, who didn't even know what my intentions were, my visions for helping people.
Yeah.
It was like this close to literally crawling back in my shell and choosing a different direction. But because I'd done some mindset work, I had to really remind myself of that and overcome and work through that sort of limiting belief. I had to realize, okay, cool. So this psychologist has got a limiting belief going on, and her limiting belief was that coaches can't help women from narcissistic relationships. And I was like, well, that's bullshit, because I worked through my narcissistic relationship and my abuse, and I never used a therapist, and I'm on the other side. And if I can do it, other people can do it. And that was without any help. So I was like, well, if I can be a coach and help people in that way who don't feel the need for a psychologist, then I can absolutely do that. And it's just one person's opinion out of, 100. So, be what may. If that's how she feels, that's okay. Like, I don't have to not do what I want to do just because of one person. And it was a really good lesson, because I learned that you can't people please your way through life or through business. And you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to agree with you, and that's okay. And even if I did crawl back into my shell, it's like people would probably criticize me for that as well. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
you just win.
Yes.
So you've got to kind of listen to your own intuition and recenter yourself and realize, okay, that person was triggered because of their own triggers. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't actively go out of my way to hurt that person. My intentions were always pure, and she reached out to me and found me and then sent that to me. And I made a decision that I would never criticize someone who was wanting to step out and do something like that ever. Do you know what I mean? And the people that are ahead of you will never come back and criticize you, or they shouldn't anyway, because they know the road of actually having to put themselves out there and what that's like. And the fact that you do it is like hugely commendable. Yeah. Like, it's a big deal. So if someone comes down hard on you, they obviously haven't done that themselves, because if they had of, they wouldn't be imposing all of their limiting beliefs and negative views on you like that. So in terms of putting yourself out there, there's a lot of fear around this particular thing. It's fear of judgment from others. It's fear of being seen. It's easier for INFJs, because they're an introvert, to kind of to slink away from the spotlight and just do the behind the scenes stuff, But when you run your business, and it depends what business you've got. Like, if you've got an Etsy store and you're just selling products, you don't necessarily have to show your face, and that might be something that someone might prefer. But if you're like an online coach, or something where you are the service, it's really important to promote yourself. And it feels a bit weird at the beginning, because you're so not used to doing that. It's like when you have a job interview and you've got to sell yourself, it just doesn't feel comfortable.
Right.
But it's realizing that you can do it your own way. You don't have to do it the way that all the other extroverts are doing it. You don't have to do it the way that other people are doing it. You can pick and choose what feels right for you, but at the same time, there's a difference between letting fear stop you and paralyze you and get in the way, as opposed to just figuring out what your style is. So that's a big one. What's the other thing? So fear of not being accepted and belonging, that's also another fear that everyone has. But once again, like, I found that when I got out of my own way and worked on my mindset and worked through my confidence issues and all that sort of stuff, that's when I felt like the world became my oyster and things started to open up. And if you don't put yourself out there, no one knows about your offer online. Like, if you've got an online business and you are the service, and even if you sell a product, no one's going to know about it until you put it out there. And I'm big on attraction marketing, right? Like, that's my number one thing. I love attraction marketing because, and I believe in karma as well, and signs in the universe and all that energetic exchange stuff. So it's like, if you put your stuff out there, people can see it, they can buy it, they can hire you, they can relate to you. They don't have to buy off you. They can just follow you and connect with you. And if you don't do that, they'll never get what they need or want. And so a big thing as well is realizing that as an INFJ, we're the rarest of the personality types, right? So we actually have gifts that the world, needs, that other people need from us. And by keeping ourselves small and hidden away, it's like little bits of treasure that you're keeping. It's kind of like you could have, okay, I'm really like just flying by the seat of my pants here, but it's like, think about some treasure that's been found, and they go put it in a museum, and the whole world can enjoy that treasure. They can travel there, they can look at it, they can touch it, feel it, take photos with it, whatever, right? But if that treasure never gets found and stays hidden away, the whole world gets like misses out on that, you know. And I know it's like, who cares, it's treasure, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like,
right, yeah,
personalities, because they're rare, like that should be more of a reason to bring us out, not have us hidden away or ignored, or, you know, behind the scenes all the time. Like I feel like for me as an INFJ or ENFJ, whatever floats my boat that day, really, it's like it has to be a conscious choice to be seen every day, because it doesn't come naturally to me. And once you work through those confidence things, because there's a difference, there really is a difference between like, so in terms of being comfortable, if we're stuck in our comfort zone, we limit our life. Whereas if we expand our discomfort zone, then we become more comfortable with that. So it's kind of like when you go to drive a car, you didn't feel like you were capable, you didn't know how to do it, you're not sure if you could, but once you actually started practicing and got the go of it and got your learners and your Ps, I don't know how it works over there in America, but once you got all that and you worked up those levels, you got your full license. And now you can drive a car with your eyes closed. It's not such a big deal. It's more automatic. And it's the same thing when you put yourself out online. Like I try to show up on my Instagram live nearly every day and show my face, because I know it connects with audiences more. There's evidence shown by social media marketers that they have a better conversion rate when you are connecting with your audience with your face and not just words. And not everyone is learning the same way. We've got visual learners, we've got auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and audio digital. So if you can cater to all of those type of INFJs, or, you know, whatever your customers and clients are, you have a bigger conversion rate for not just connecting, but potentially selling as well.
All right, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you'll come back and listen next week as well. Next week, we're going to talk about how your feelings are actually your superpower, how to build your business network, and how self-love is the key to unlocking everything. Again, thank you for listening. I really hope that you will subscribe wherever you listen, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or on YouTube. If you haven't checked out the videos on YouTube, please make sure that you do. You can find them at youtube.com/thequietonespodcast. Also, I have a bunch of other inspirational videos and videos about INFJs up on my other channel, which is youtube.com/INFJwoman. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you again next week.